Welcome back to Homeschooling with Classic Stories. We are on week 6 this week. So I'm sure you already know the drill, but take the book out of its box. Take the book out of its jacket. And go ahead and let's take a look at our story for today. So taking a look at our map, we are yet again, so last week we had the 2 bad mice. They were in the west. And we're coming rather directly down and slightly east to go see Mrs. Tiggy-Winkle. So make sure that you, again, if you are reviewing with the compass, that you review these ideas of north, east, south, west. If you would like, you can even have your child give directions following the path. My son likes to give very convoluted directions, so we sometimes end up, taking the rather long way, but however your child chooses to give directions, whether you're using left, right, straight, around, between, those sorts of words, or if you're giving compass directions, all of that is fine, but it's often nice to take a look at the map. So, Mrs. Tiggy-Winkle. Oh, also important to note, on the map, make sure you notice that there are mountains that will become important in the story. So just notice there's a mountain range here. Look at that. Do they look very tall? My son said no to that. I pointed out that they are taller than the other things, and then he agreed that yes, they do look like tall mountains. Anyway, let's go ahead and take a look at our story. All right, so taking a look at the Tale of Mrs. Tiggy-Winkle, sorry. For this book, you can go ahead and take a look at the picture and you see what this focus is going to be on. We see a hedgehog and she is holding an iron and she's got one on the fire as well. One thing that I recommend before you do this book, if your child is not involved in your process of washing and laundry, it would be really, really good before you read this week to at least do some noticing. So, for example, when you go to the grocery store, you walk down the laundry-based aisle and you notice things like, oh, look, it's bleach. Oh, look, it's fabric softener. Oh, look, it's starch. Oh, look, it's detergent. And just kind of having a look at those things and talking about what part of the process they are in laundry. Even if you don't actually use those things, most of the things I just said I don't actually use, but I'm sure you're aware of what part of the laundry steps they go in, as you will see a lot of laundry done throughout this section. If you if you have parts of your laundry process in your home that are hidden from view, it would also be really great if at least one time your child saw you do those parts. So for example, I know in a lot of families, they like to start the laundry once the kids go to bed, or they themselves are going to bed because it's easier to, turn the washing machine on and not have to wait. You just sort of let it run or put the dryer on, let it run, and then when you wake up, continue doing the laundry. But if that's what you normally do, maybe at least one time before you start reading the story, have your child see what your laundry process is, because that will give them some context of, oh, the clothes that I wear are also laundered. So there is sort of a disconnect sometimes, especially because we'll be using, I'm sure you are using at least some form of modern equipment, and this story is not. So let's go ahead and get started. All right, oddly enough, we are not starting with our main character this week. We are instead starting with a little girl named Lucy. And for this story, Lucy has lost some things. And so she's going around asking if others have seen them. So she asks the cat if the cat has seen her things. And the things that she has lost, this is a little confusing. It's 3 handkerchiefs and a pinafore being like, I just referred to it as like a special apron. If your child has never seen a pinafore, that is fine. Once this girl takes off her jacket, you will see one. So just be aware that that's the things that she's lost. She's lost 3 handkerchiefs and a pinafore. So that's what she's lost. At this point, I wanted to talk to my son about losing things. What's something that he has lost. I also talked about what's something that mommy and daddy are always losing, because I wanted him to relate to the fact that everybody loses things. It's okay. It's part of life. It's being human to lose things. No one is mad at the little girl. Just, stuff happens. So we talked about losing our cell phones and our keys and those sorts of things, and all these things that sometimes get lost. So, my son talked about a stuffed animal that he's constantly losing. So losing things was our main topic. So we have the cat. It's important that you know that there's a cat named Tabby Kitten. There will be a callback to this cat later. On this page, we focused on noises. So what does the cat say? Meow. That was really easy because my son's 4.5. Then we come to Sally Henny Penny, who is this bird here, the hen. And what does a hen say? A hen should say whatever you think hens say, cluck, cluck, or whatever it is that you do in your house. But this hen is saying, I go barefoot, barefoot, barefoot. What an odd thing for a hen to say. And there will be a callback to this later. So make sure you are talking a little bit about animal noises so that your child remembers, oh, how odd that she was talking about being barefoot as a hen instead of just saying, cluck, 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 or whatever. Okay, and then we get into the next page where the child sees things happening up on the hill and goes up to get them. So all of that is going to happen. This is kind of where we talked about the idea of near and far. So she is looking at something that is far away. What are some things that are near to her? And then she is looking at something far away. And similarly, what are some things that are near to her? What are some things that are far away? And she even talks about that she could drop a pebble down a chimney because she's so far away. In one of our readings, we went and looked out the window. What are some things that are far away? We actually have mountains pretty far in the distance outside of our window. So that made this picture really easy, but it doesn't really matter what's outside of your window as long as you spot something that is far away and something that is near, just to kind of have a look at those concepts. Then, of course, we have the bucket being filled. What are some things that we use water for? Now, your child is probably not going to guess correctly what the water is being used for, but no wrong answers here. What are some things that this water could be used for? And then, of course, once they've finished reading this and hear the song, then have the child go back and guess again. What do you think that this is being used for? And of course, the answer is that it's being used for laundry. But if your child doesn't get that, that's totally okay, as long as they know that laundry is about to happen. All right, and then we have knocking. This is a really good time to illustrate knocking on a door before entering. If your child has trouble with that, that's a really good time to mention this idea that, oh, look, she's knocking. Knocks once, twice, and then waits for someone to call out to them. So this is a good time to review that sort of etiquette. This is where things start to get a little bit awkward. There's not a terrible lot of awkwardness in this. She is a hedgehog, but it is rather obvious that this particular hedgehog is meant to be, I guess, perhaps an old black or brown person, a person of color, and your child may not notice how awkward it is in some of the cases, talking about how very brown she is. That part made me feel a little uncomfortable. My son did not notice. Whether or not you want to address that is entirely up to you. There are also some things that felt a little off, talking about her hair and talking about the thing on her head. So, the cap on her head, I'm sorry. So, however you want to address that, if you want to skip noticing that, that's fine. You could instead talk about what part of the process she is in. So what is she doing right now? She's ironing. Over here, what is she doing? She's spreading out clothes. She's taking them out of the basket, out of the hamper, however you address it in your house. And she's ironing. Okay. For this part, we see our first bit of laundry for a callback character. Cock Robin was the last of the characters that we met. we met before she went up the hill, and here is his little scarlet waistcoat, so a jacket for him. If your child doesn't remember the bird, go back and have a look at the picture of the bird right before she goes up the hill. All right, then we get to Jenny Written. I wasn't sure what that's about, but it might be nice to talk about stains because that's what's being addressed here. Look at the stain. What color is it? Have you ever gotten a stain on your shirt? My kid always has stains on his shirt, so you might have a way to point that out. All right. Then we have, what is she doing? She's getting an iron. What do irons do? They flatten things out. If you don't iron in your house, I don't iron in my house. This part can be a little bit confusing as to what she's doing. You can simply demonstrate this by like holding out a piece of fabric and smoothing it over, and explain that it's very hot, so that makes it, smooth out or whatnot. The next part, she finds one of her handkerchiefs. Oh, yay! All right, so we've got one. How many are left? There are 2 left. All right, and we also find her pinafore. Again, if you didn't know what a pinafore was, oh, look, there it is. And so what do we have left? We have 2 handkerchiefs left to find. What's this in the next picture? Remember Sally Hennypenny? And she was talking about going barefoot. So if you need to go back to that page and call back to that, that's fine. But these are Henny Penny's shoes or stockings. All right, looking at the next one. So we have another handkerchief. So how many handkerchiefs are left? Well, there's still 2 because this one is red. Who does it belong to? Mrs. Rabbit. This is a callback to the Benjamin Bunny story where they're collecting onions. Ask your child about remembering that story. If not, you can flip back to looking at the onions that were collected. Then, of course, we have the mittens for the cat. Then, of course, we have some Tom Titmouse shirts. I didn't know what story this was associated with, so I didn't address it. I just pointed out the starch. The story continues in much the same way. We see other characters and other callbacks. Squirrel Nutkin gets a callback. Peter Rabbit gets a callback. All of these we addressed throughout it. And then, of course, you see this poor woman who has worked all day now goes and makes tea for the girl who's just standing there. So they have tea together. If you want to make tea with your child, that's fine. This is also a really uncomfortable part. It was very, very brown and very wrinkly. And hairpins, oh no. Again, it's up to you whether or not you address the larger implications there. We did not really address it because she is a hedgehog, and so we just stuck to her being a hedgehog, and that's why she's brown, even though literally all the other characters are brown, and for some reason this one gets called out as very, very brown. Anyway, so then of course we find the last handkerchief. We've already found that last handkerchief. And so all of these things get fastened up with a silver safety pin. If you want to get 3 pieces of fabric and safety pin them together, so your child has an example of this. Mine had not really seen a safety pin before, so that was kind of neat to play with. Not playing with the safety pin, but playing with the idea of like the safety pin holding these 3 things together. All right. So we then see all of the things delivered, and you can remember who all these different characters are. Oh, look, it's some naked bunnies. We remember them. And we see the other little animals also who are very happy. I did not like that they are very much obliged to dear Miss Tiggy-Winkle. She just did all their washing. Pay the lady. So we talked about payment as well. And then, of course, the girl goes back. We realized that she had been asleep. My son did not realize that she had been asleep. That was confusing to him. If your child does not really get the idea that the girl had been sleeping the whole time and found her own pinafore and other items, it's not really important. It's just meant to be sort of nice, sort of Alice in Wonderland kind of ish story of falling asleep and dreaming these things. That's kind of it for this story. So I will see you next week when we talk about this particular cat. And I will see you next time. Have a great week.